Hi, I'm Pastor Kurt, and this is your 5-minute Bible study. Today, we're going to look at Acts chapter 5, verses 17 through 42. Now, let's back up a little bit. In the previous videos, I've been talking about how Peter and John were telling people about Jesus. They were helping people, like helping the guy who couldn't walk so that he could walk again. They were doing all of these things, and it got them in trouble. What got them in trouble, especially, was that they were talking about Jesus. Not that they were doing these nice things for people, but that they were talking about Jesus. In this scene, the powers that be are so frustrated with these guys that they arrest them again and throw them in jail. Well, we hear that while they're in jail, an angel basically breaks them out of jail. There's this jailbreak, and they leave. Well, the next day, when the powers that be go searching for them in the jail, they don't find anybody. And so now they're all confused. Like, what in the world is going on here? We put these guys in jail. Now they're not here. What's happening? They eventually find them, and then they question them again, saying, "What have you done? Why aren't you cooperating with us? We put you in jail. You're supposed to stay there. Why aren't you listening to us when we tell you don't talk about Jesus?" Peter then has this wonderful line. He says, "We must obey God rather than any human authority." He is so committed to listening to God and telling people about Jesus that nobody around him is going to make him stop. That line is an important line. We must obey God rather than any human authority. In our context, we have plenty of people in positions of authority. And sometimes we do need to listen to them. Sometimes they do have our best interest at heart. But sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're only thinking about themselves, as we see in this particular scene, right? They're trying to get Peter and John to shut up about Jesus because they don't want to hear it. Well, Peter and John are like, tough. We're going to tell people about Jesus. We are more committed to God than we are to you. We can say the same thing today. If there is somebody today who's in a position of authority, who's trying to basically make you stop living your life for Jesus, keep living your life for Jesus, right? Your commitment is to Jesus, not to this human authority. Well, when the powers that be hear that, they get extra upset. But there's this guy in their group named Gamaliel, and he kind of helps the group settle down. He talks some sense into them, and his argument is a great one. He tells them, well, let's think about these guys and what they're doing. There have been plenty of other cases of people who have tried to stir up stuff, and then it hasn't lasted very long. It's kind of fizzled out. Maybe these guys are the same way. If what they're doing is not from God, then it's just going to die out like it has for everybody else. So just leave them alone, right? They're going to take care of themselves. It'll die out, and then we won't be the bad guys here. But if what they're doing is from God, no matter what you do, you won't be able to stop them. It's a wonderful argument. If what these guys are doing is not from God, it's going to fizzle out and die and go away. So then don't worry about it. But if it is from God, then you won't be able to stop it. Everybody agrees with Gamaliel. So then they have Peter and John flogged and just kind of let them go on their way. Then there's a line at the end that says that Peter and John considered it a good thing, that they were worthy of suffering, that they were worthy of receiving a flogging, right? They kind of took it as like a badge of honor, that they were able to suffer for Jesus' sake. But think back to Gamaliel's argument. If there is something that kind of seems hot or trending at the moment and it's not from God, it's going to fade away. But if there's something that is going on that is from God, nothing you do is going to be able to stop it. Nothing that any human authority does is going to be able to stop it. This is why the church has persisted for all these years. The church has been through all kinds of struggles throughout history. There have been so many things that have attacked the church. There have been so many struggles within the church. There have been so many things that the church has faced because we follow Jesus. But we're still here. Yes, different smaller groups, like different congregations, might have their own troubles, their own things that they're dealing with. Yes, fine. But overall, the church is going to continue because there are Christians like us who continue to tell people about Jesus. No matter what human authority says, we must obey God rather than any human authority. This church, the one group of all of us, we who have been empowered by the Holy Spirit, from generation to generation, God is continuing to empower people to tell others about Jesus. That is never going to stop. No matter what human authorities say, the church will continue and the good news about Jesus will continue to spread. And you and I, we get to be a part of that right now. There's your 5-minute Bible study. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.